Dad, so corny.
Yo.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Corny Dads podcast. We just here to highlight some dope fathers doing dope things or corny things for their dope kids. I'm CJ Snuggy Harris.
First of all, it's dope things with our dope kids.
Thank you, sir.
Yogi Den, namaste.
Oz, and Charles. Catch me on Corny Dads at OJC on TikTok.
Oh, you got it locked down now. You got it locked down. Hey, Chico, a.k.a. Ace, but my kids call me Papa. We back at it, folks.
Back at it. Quick announcement. Thanks for the Corny Dads plug. We finally on TikTok.
Yeah.
Just at Corny Dads.
At Corny Dads on TikTok.
At Corny Dads.
Follow the vibe. Hold on. Once again, we got to shout out the plug, man. New Corny Dad tees. These are kind of fly.
Athletics.
So
Shouts out to our sponsor, Buzzer Beater Athletics.
Can we catch the back? Let me turn around so they can see the back. Can you see the back of the drip?
Oh.
Big drip.
Big drip.
That joint shiny suits and things.
You feel me?
How you brothers feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. It's today's a good day, man. We woke up on the other side of the dirt.
Oh, talk that. Absolutely.
I'm just dirty. I ain't take a shower. I'm playing. I took a shower.
Got right. Oh, baby.
I wasn't expecting that.
Comments gonna go crazy. I tell you that much. Comments is gonna go crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you pay attention to the comments because I don't.
Yeah, listen, me either.
You know what I'm saying? I got real stuff happening out here.
For sure.
It's not it for me. So, we back at the table.
Yes, sir.
And of course, this podcast is about fatherhood.
Absolutely.
And there's a duality that exists with fatherhood, where we are fathers. We had our fathers in one form or another. But in regards to being a parent, and our kids didn't get here by themselves, right? So we also have mothers, though, right? So I want to talk about, today we're going to highlight or talk about our relationships with our mothers. I know you guys heard the deep sigh. It's get my yogi on real quick, that breath work. Yeah, we're going to talk about our moms, man. How you guys feel about that?
Feel good, man. Shout out to Carol Johnson. I love my mom. I love speaking about my mom. Definitely a pivotal player in my adolescence and growing up. So definitely happy to.
I'm glad that you're talking because we actually talk about your dad a lot. You spoke a little about your mom, and tell us what the relationship with your mom was like growing up.
I start off the back. All right.
Yeah, because you started talking. So.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Miss Carol.
So shout out to Carol Johnson, and just recently spent a lot of time getting to know who Carol Johnson was. But growing up, my mom was like she was the foundation of it all, right? If you see, like her and I have talks now because we're going through this stage where we're learning each other more. And she knows me, but I'm learning her more. Because she knew me my entire life, and I'm just getting to know who she was as in her adolescence. But growing up, she was the foundation. She was the person that was like, all right, the balance to like my dad, the rock to my father. When my dad, we always talk about how my dad was able to provide for us, was able to give so much to us, and that's because his cup was full, and who was to provide that fullness in his cup? That was Carol. That was my mom, to be able to fill his cup every night, because that's the person that, while he's mentoring children, while he's mentoring us and working with us, while he's going out to save the world, he has to come home. So that cape comes down when he comes home, and then when he comes home, there's Carol to fill that cup back up, to put that cape back on that man when he goes back out there to do the work, right? So, the backbones of our family, the backbone of my family was Carol Johnson.
Okay. What about your eyes?
For me, big shout out to Miss Rose. Miss Rose was the one who held everything down, held everything together. Like I said to you guys, I grew up without without my dad being present in the physical sense. So Miss Rose was my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my best friend. So Miss Rose is definitely around, and Miss Rose, she held down so many, like I just said, she just held down so many different positions. But now as an adult and through time, I've come to realize that she's not just my mom. She is Rose, just Rose, right? So now I'm at a space where I am clear on the difference between my mom and the difference between Rose and the difference between Lulu's, because we all have our own
alter ego, so to speak.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And some of them are assigned to us, right?
Sure.
Because you grew up with a nickname, Minky, right? Minky's totally different than Dennis.
I would have never asked for that name.
I would have never asked.
Smooth,
right?
yo,
Right?
smooth.
So now, you know, as an adult, I'm meeting Lulu's, right? And I'm getting to chill with Miss Rose. And at the same time, I'm getting an opportunity to, you know, hold hands and love and provide for my mama.
Oh, man.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So, shouts out to Miss Rose. Mama, you know I love you. Mama, I love you.
Blessings, Mama Rose.
Ace Boogie.
Hey man, I wish I had like a great introductory like you guys. But shouts out to my mom, Simone Johnson, man. That lady has taught me so much about myself, and you know, this is gonna be kind of a tough topic for me today, so y'all gonna have to excuse me. But shouts out to my mom. Shouts out to my mom, Simone Johnson. She's been a very pivotal woman in my life. And shouts out to my grandma too, Evelyn Nono Michelle. I don't call my grandma grandma, I call her mummy. You know what I mean? She's the one that raised me and my sisters. But my mom has really, really taught me a lot about life and being a man with that invisible influence that we spoke of. She isn't a woman of many words. She likes to lead by example. So a lot of things that I learned from her, I picked up from her. But you know, thank you for all the lessons you have taught me and stuff like that. So, yeah.
All right, so I guess it's me.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you-
Yeah,
baby.
man, it's all on you right now.
My mom is a female version of me in a sense. I don't know, or I didn't know prior to maybe my 24th year here, like the type of things that she endured that kind of influenced how she moved when we were growing up. I know I talk about my dad and how my connection was with my dad. So early on, being that young, that influence or that connection with my dad played a role in just everything, right? And it's kind of highlighted in my mind. But when you sit back and you think about just the relationship with my mom, she kind of held it together. We survived. So growing up, my relationship with her, for example, I gotta give you a story. I gotta make the connection through a story. So my dad got shot, right? After my dad got shot, what people don't know is that my mom actually was pregnant and went to jail because they thought that she shot her. I mean, she shot him. Of course, she didn't do it. But after that, it was like, okay, now I have to make a separation. I have to do what's best for my family. So I remember vividly moving from my dad's house. And I remember we moved in Philly. We moved to Southwest Philly. I don't know if it's Southwest, borderline Southwest Philly and West Philly, on Webster Street. Living in this 2-bedroom apartment, and my dad was still around. This is, of course, after he healed and stuff. So, but we talk about just moving into, like, from there, she kind of had to figure it out. You know what I mean? So she survived. She wasn't, like you said, your mom isn't a woman of many words, Ace. My mom isn't either. Like, she take all her pain in stride. And if she figure it out, if she don't, nobody will ever know how it affects her. That's me. Like I just started talking. I just started talking, and the things that I talk about are real. And you look at just the role that it plays, and just which kind of leads into my next question. What kind of role it plays in you as a person, but that translates into you as a parent, right? And what it kind of hinders, or if it helps, or something like that. So, do you think that your relationship with your mom impacts you as a parent, whether it's positive or negative? Like you just talked about the invisible influence. Invisible influence is both positive, or it could be negative. Mm-hmm. So do you think that, and I'm going to start with you, Ace, because you seem a little bit emotional. Do you think it had an impact on just your journey into fatherhood?
Gotta get my bearings real quick.
You need a sec?
Need a sec.
All right. I mean, I definitely can start there. So with my mother, I absolutely think that invisible influence is here. The first thing that comes to my mind is weird, right? It comes, what comes to my mind is ironing on an ironing board. I don't know why that comes to my mind, right? My mom always goes back to when she used to use the starch to iron our jeans and our pants in the morning time, and that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I still do the same for like my kids. Like when I'm ironing and stuff, I'm looking for the starch. There's no starch, and I'm just ironing on the ironing board. And I'm like, who used to do this? Where did I get this from? But the invisible influence from my mom, I can remember things like being on, going down to Jersey and being on a bus to go down to Jersey to go see my Aunt Robin, my cousin Manna, and Sean. I remember taking a bus sometimes to go to Delaware to go see my Aunt Linda, my Aunt Sheila, my Aunt Dawn, and family was like a huge thing for my mom. I remember my mom taking in this lady that my Aunt Liza. Now everybody knows my Aunt Liza, right? You used to come to my house, and this elderly lady used to be in the dining room. She lived with us, and for a long time I never knew the relationship with who this woman was, right? I never knew who she was. I just know my mom was taking care of her. I thought it was her next job. Everybody would ask me. I'd just be like, I don't know who this lady is, really. We just call her Aunt Liza. I don't know how she's related to us. But then come to find out, that's who raised my mom. This lady that my mom was taking care of raised my mother through her adolescence and through her adulthood. And when I learned that story, I found that when we talked about love and loyalty, right? Both of those things, my mom was very loyal to folks and very loving to folks. And then in turn, I grew up with the same mentality to be loving and loyal to my people, and especially to my family members, especially to my close friends. So that's where that comes from, that invisible influence there. And yeah, that's this, I would say, and then now in my adult years, I'm watching the relationship grow between my mom and I when it comes down to how I am as a father, and how they were, my mother and my father were to us as children. And I'm just talking about everything they've done from again, like Christmas and all of the holidays, the big parties at the house, the family coming over. You guys all been to my house when we had these. That all stems from my mother and my father. It all stems from family, love, loyalty, and compassion, and respect and truth. So definitely influenced me and helped me in my fatherhood journey, because that's the same way now that I am to my children, and they carry that same energy.
And I guess for me, it's the same but different, because I didn't grow up with my father living with me, right? So I had to see my mom, play so many different roles. So watching her play all these different roles actually really helped me to be the father that I am today, because guess what? I have no problem cooking. I have no problem cleaning. You understand what I'm saying? I have no problem sitting down doing the homework, nor do I have a problem actually disciplining. Right? And these are all things that I learned from my mom, from my grandmother, from women, because I was practically raised by women. So these are the women that I learned from. And So today, for me as a father, some of the lessons that I've taken from my mom while growing up is, number one, is I'm doing my best to be as present as I possibly can, but number two, I'm trying to be as loving, right? So so me and my mom growing up, there was a little bit of a riff as we grew up, right? So some of the things that I experienced from my mom was so freaking positive, but a lot of them were so freaking negative. So as a father today, I'm able to look at the positives, right? And I'm able to be like, all right, listen, these are the things that I'm going to capitalize on. And I'm able to look at some of the negative things that I experienced from my mom growing up. And I'm like, you know what? These are the areas that I need to do better. But unfortunately, as just men, as just human beings, right? We all fall short before the glory of God, right? So, so again, I thank my mom so much for, the many lessons that she's taught me. And I'm also thankful for areas in life where she fell short, because it gave me an opportunity to not only notice it, right? It hurt when I was younger, but now as an adult, right? Because now I'm getting to talk to Rose, the woman, right? And not my mom. And I'm able to better understand, right? I'm better able to understand so much that has happened then. So now I could just say, both her negatives and her positives, because I'm pretty sure there's some other questions that are there that that's gonna allow us to delve deeper into the
just
conversation.
warming up.
No,
So.
I mean, see, you made some good points. Like, I think, for us, our upbringing was our parents came from another country, spoke a different language. Everything was foreign to them. And now, as you said, like knowing, Simone as an adult now just my mom, there's sometimes I place myself in her shoes and try to understand, all right, what was she going through? What was her mental? I said to myself, you know what? My mom and I, we grew up together. You know what I mean? We grew up together. Because the same way I was a young kid trying to figure this thing called the world out, I think my mom was doing the same. Coming from another country and just trying to figure it out and figuring it out. And blossoming in a foreign land. And I think that is one of the most pivotal and important things that my mom has taught me. Resilience, grind, hustle. So when I was younger and her not being to be there for like certain events, like I remember my prom. When I got ready for my prom, I was by myself. Like in the house, got ready. It was like Will Smith in that episode. You kind of looking around the house and nobody's there. And I was like, you've seen the videos of kids, just their mom is there, like prepping them up. That wasn't my situation. But I understood that my mom had to go out there. She had to make a life. She had to grind, And for me, it carries on. It carried on to me as an adult. But I had to know that in everything in life, you have to do things in doses. You have to still grind, but still find time for the other things in life.
That balance.
That balance. And once again, as time went on, and all the things that I was kind of frustrated at my mom for not being there or being capable to do, I began to understand, as an adult. So that's one thing that's grown with me.
Shout out to Simone, man.
Shouts out to Miss Simone.
Yeah, so for me, so I don't know who my mom was before we moved to 55th Street.
And how old was you when y'all moved to 55th?
I was young. I was 3 or 4. My mom that's right after my dad got shot.
All right.
So I was 3 when my dad got shot, and she was pregnant with my youngest brother. My mom has 5 kids, 3 girls, 2 boys, and her baby is Mike. That's my dog. He'll get it together.
I see him shake his head like, that's my dog.
But he'll get it together, for real. One thing, sidebar, but one thing I love about Mike is that he is a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's my mom's baby. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dog, like, shut up. You know what I mean? But I don't remember her treating him that way. I think he just gave himself the self-proclaimed, I'm the baby since I'm the youngest. Right? But one thing I remember growing up, now, we didn't have a lot. I remember another story about my mom. when I was a kid living on 55th Street, she bought me some kites. But we lived across the street from a park. And in the city, you don't have an opportunity to really fly kites.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, I was about to say,
kites?
you flew a kite?
I'm different.
Yeah, I didn't fly it. I just remember having it.
You know about different kites.
I got flown a couple of Jones too. But one of the things that this is how, as I got older and I got to learn my mom. So I didn't get to learn my mom until I was 24. I didn't graduate college because I went to jail. I graduated college in 5 years. But when I took it was a teacher named Dr. Ampry, and Dr. Ampry, he assigned us this paper in multicultural studies, and I had to learn a little bit about my family's history because I had no clue. I was just out here. I was out here.
Yeah,
what they say? What they say now? We was outside. I was outside.
Hugging the block. He was hugging the block.
Like, and so I had to. Me being in college, making that decision, I really made a decision to go back, and I fought my way back. But by me taking Dr. Ampry's class, it gave me opportunity to have this conversation with Mom, and I learned a lot about her. I learned a lot about my family, and I told her about the conversation I had, we had the conversation, but how I felt about the kites. I just asked like, yo, why ain't you never let me fly my kite? And she's like, boy, what kite? You know what I'm saying? So I told her, and she's like, yo, you remember that? And I'm like, yeah. So for graduation, she actually went out and bought me some kites.
Oh,
That's
you know what I'm
fire.
saying?
shout out to
fire.
Mom.
But
That got me there. That got me there.
So growing up, I didn't see that side of her. We didn't experience that. It was like a authoritative, I'm surviving, you got what you need type of environment. She wasn't open. She didn't communicate to us about things that she was feeling. But one thing that she did do was, regardless of however long I was with my dad or whatever, I always had to make it back and go to church with her. Whether it was 3 times a week, 1 time a week, or whatever. So what I realized about my mom, not now, but a little bit earlier in life, it gave her something to believe in, something more powerful than yourself. So that's the lesson. Like, yo, listen, you can believe in yourself, but you also have to believe in something or someone else. So my mom always told me, like, when I first started playing basketball and I was getting good and stuff, and I told her my goals of basketball, she kind of like reinforced my belief, like, yo, you can do it and all that stuff. So these are the things that kind of translates to my relationship with my sons. Like, yo, listen, that's why we got the alphabet. And the alphabet is just a reinforcement of what you already know. So that's one of the things that kind of like I remember, like, having that belief early on and her reinforcing, like, I remember the first game my mom came to.
What was the game?
It was a basketball game. I had got kicked out of the school she worked at.
For what?
Demerits. Like, I was, I was always that kid. They had a demerit system. And the crazy part, we always talk about this. We just talked about this in her kitchen a few weeks ago with my nieces. Like, yo, the demerits came to her desk and she still put them in. That's not riding right.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. That she
was the dean. She put the
no.
demerit.
She was the I don't know if it's the secretary or whatever. She
So
was
it come to her
It
first.
come to her first, and then she got to put it in the system.
And she said,
So-
Clarence Harris, my son.
Yeah.
Put it in.
Yeah.
That's
So
discipline, boy.
what?
What you talking about?
Yo, and then,
That's love.
It is, because what it did was, and I don't want to get stuck on this, but what it did was, it showed me, like, you're not above what's happening.
Facts.
Like, our relationship is our relationship, but you're not above what's happening. You have to eat these consequences. What's next?
What's next?
What's next? So I ended up going to another school, relationship based, of course, and they didn't. Make a long story midget, I got on the basketball team.
Listen, we love little people here.
Oh,
We love little people here.
Sorry.
make a long story
We're from
short-
West Philly.
Make a long story shorter, they didn't have a basketball team. I made the basketball team, got on the basketball team, and the first game that she came to was me playing the school that I got kicked out of. And I remember being real cocky and all of that stuff because I was really good, like F y'all. And I shot a shot, it went up in the air on some Steph Curry stuff. I knew it was going in. I ran to the sideline and kissed her, right? And she was just like, boy, what are you doing? But she was so happy. You could see the joy, like, dog, I didn't know you was like this. But yeah, like just that, she always reinforced my confidence, and that just seeing her at that game gave me the motivation I needed to perform under those lights. It wasn't about it. She could be the only person in the crowd. So that belief that she instilled because of the belief that she had or she learned from elsewhere, she just reinforced it into me. Now, my sisters might say something different. They might not know that side of her, but I talked to her a lot. Like, it wasn't always that positive because I remember other conversations that we had that just, you know, we kind of butted heads, and it was about doing certain stuff and all of that stuff and what I should or shouldn't be doing. And those are the conversations that kind of like, kind of hurt us or shaped my perception of her. But yeah.
No, this is all important information. This is all important information. But you spoke of discipline. You spoke of how your mom disciplined you when she put those merits in. Is there any like pivotal time that you know that with your mom that she had to really discipline you to kind of really put you in check for something that you may have felt that you habitual line stepper, like you stepped over the line, and your mom had to really be like, "Nah, I'm gonna have to put the hand of God on you."
I already feel it already.
See what you see feeling the lashes right now.
Listen, honestly, I think I have so many stories. I have so many stories. Listen, growing up in a Caribbean household, there's something called a matinette.
What's that?
I don't even know what it is, bro.
Hold on, it's a piece of wood. And it's imagine a
in
leather
like calf skin,
like cut up in strips, like a.
Y'all bought that over?
Yo, bro, they brought that over. That
no, that wasn't made here. It was brought over.
I'm about to say, yeah,
it was brought over.
Custom.
Yo,
it had a handle, and they would hang it up on the wall.
They hang it there just to let you know that discipline lives in this home, right?
That's probably one of the first things that was packed.
Probably one of the first things. Absolutely absolutely one of the first things, right? So I have so many stories that I could tell about me crossing the line and my mom having to check me. Yeah, I crossed the line a couple of times and my mom had to check me. But to be quite honest with you, I can remember, the last time, and I would probably say one of the most impactful times, right, that I crossed the line and I had to call my mom on the phone for help. I had to call, right? So I ring. Hey, Ma. I blinked up. Oh, really? And it just got quiet. And I'm like, so Ma, click.
So it's quiet for that.
Click.
It was at this moment that he knew.
It was at that moment. No, seriously, man. So that was a moment where, my mom left me stranded, but in my youth, it bothered me so much that she left me, right? And I really didn't understand, like, how could a mother do something like that to their son, right? I called her, I told her that I needed help, and she just left me for dead, right? And, it bothered me for years. So, you know what? I'm sitting here talking to you guys about my mother like I had this all figured out by myself. It took me maybe 8 years of therapy. 8 years of therapy. Shouts out to Brother Powell. My therapist at the time, who helped me to really unpack a lot of these things with my mom, who forced me to have certain conversations with my mom, forced me to have certain conversations with my dad. But to be quite honest with you guys, for years and years and years and years and years, the relationship between me and my mom was jacked up. It wasn't good. The older that I got, the more and more our relationship started to part, because I started to have certain beliefs of my mom that weren't real, right? I started to just think of her as a mom and not really identify, like, she had her own growing up, her own trauma, her own growing up that she had to do. She had her own, relationship with my dad that she had to struggle through. You understand what I'm saying? And she just basically just had her own life that she had to live. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm up here just talking and just having a conversation, and I'm just sounding like I'm good and healed, and this was something that I figured out and I did on my own. No, this was like 8 years of therapy, and I'm talking about hard therapy, right? Some days I lied and said I went to the session and I didn't because it was going to be too tough, right? There were certain conversations that, you know, that took me maybe 4 or 5 times to actually get the conversation going, right? So you jump in the conversation, then you chicken out because you don't like what you're hearing. Right. So you know what you do? You start to decide that you want to block it, right? So again, for everybody that's listening out there, and I know that there are a number of brothers, right? When I say brothers, I just mean men. There are a number of men out here who, you know, suffered their first heartbreak from the hands of their mother. And I'm one of those people. I suffered my first heartbreak from the hands of my mom. So that when we're talking about right now is discipline, right? That wasn't necessarily a heartbreak. But guess what? At the time that it happened, it broke my heart, which led me down a path of consistent disappointment and heartbreak by the hands of my mama. Right? Wow. So, you know, Ace, talk to me. Have you ever been disappointed? Have you ever been heartbroken by your mother?
As I'm listening to you tell the story, and I'm like, yo, okay, I agree. Like, I know what that looks like. I definitely know what it looks like. At one time, I felt like I was betrayed by my mother. Betrayal.
I
don't think anybody's ever felt like they've been betrayed by their mother. I have. Well,
I too.
We gonna talk about it. Brothers from the hood going to therapy is a sign of weakness. You know what I'm saying? They look at it as a sign of weakness. Like, yo, what therapy? What? Like, yo, you crazy? Nah. I'm broken. You said 8 years? I've been fighting with this demon for 15 with the relationship with my mom. It's been in and out for quite some time. I think that subconsciously we know that our mothers are our first everything, our first girlfriends, our first loves. Like, our partners that we decide to be with are reflections of our moms in some sort of facet. Like, what we saw with our mom and how they conducted themselves, how they carried themselves, it was kind of normalized. So as young children becoming adults, we kind of acclimated to it like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how women should conduct themselves. This is how maybe they may or may not handle situations because we saw it firsthand from our mothers, our earths. Snug, you told a story about your father when he got shot, Christmas, right? And I think then mentioned like, well, how does the holidays? How do you feel when it comes around Christmas time for you? And you're like, oh, I don't feel nothing about it. It ain't the same for me. About 15 years ago, Thanksgiving. I was a Thanksgiving crasher. Every year I'll have somewhere to go for Thanksgiving. Never at my house, because my mom was always working. She was a grinder. This year we decided to have dinner at our house.
Oh boy.
So at the house, we're chilling, everybody's enjoying themselves. I'm downstairs in the basement with the fam. Shouts out to my brother Showtime. Shouts out to my brother G-Slap. My brother G-Slap.
G-Slap. Not Knapsack, not
that's my brother.
Black Sack wasn't born yet.
No, he actually was. He actually was.
Was he born?
He was born. He was about 4 years old. But
we gotta give him a code name.
But I'm gonna tie in what you just said to that. This is gonna be it's gonna be a bit long-winded, but I'm gonna be able to incorporate everything that you guys have said in the past. We're all hanging out downstairs. Food's on the table, ready to go.
Wait, got a question.
Yes, sir.
And you're how many years older than
my little brother?
Yeah.
19.
Okay.
So my brother at the time was probably like 3 years old, 4 years old, but he was well aware of what was going on, unfortunately.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that a little bit too. We're all hanging out, table set. My mom comes down frantic. Like, hey, what's going on? Her partner at the time, well, her partner now, I don't know their status. She stated to me that he put hands on her.
Okay.
If anybody knows me, I'm very protective of my family, even the women of my family. Ask my sister, woman, what's up? What's up, sis? I love you. I was in the basement of my mother's house. It was a 3-level house. I must have got upstairs in 2 steps. No cap. I confronted the coward. I asked him a question. I put hands and feet on him.
Hands and feet.
Hands and feet. Don't want to go too much into the details of the situation, but it got dire. He was very hurt. Very, very hurt. Law enforcement got involved. A warrant was out for my arrest. This is Thanksgiving. I emphasize on the importance of a village. Shouts out to Showtime once again. I'm on the run.
Showtime is aiding and abetting right now.
He's aiding. He's an accessory.
Shout out to Showtime.
I have to get my affairs in order before I turn myself in. Stay with Showtime for a night. Shouts out to my cousin Mike, legend. He puts me up for a couple of nights. At the time, my uncle, Pierre Michel, he's now retired NYPD. Getting on the phone with him, I'd say, Pierre, listen, this is my situation right now. I need help. Okay, we're gonna arrange it. We're gonna arrange a time for you to turn yourself in. I'm communicating with everyone but my mother at the time.
Right. Why? And can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Why not communicate with your mom? What did you think?
My mother at the time, I didn't feel like at this time I'm on the run. So I'm thinking if anything, my mother's gonna reach out to me directly to find out if I'm okay, which she did through other people, through other sources. You know what I'm saying? It comes to the day, everybody, you know, word's getting around the family. Everybody from the family's finding out what's going on. They're checking in on me. They're like, "Are you okay?" Not really hearing much from my mom.
Okay.
At this point, I'm thinking to myself, what's going on? Like, I'm confused. Did I do something wrong? Isn't it protect black women? Before it was a hashtag? I was doing my duty as a son to protect my mother, which I did. But I didn't feel like it was reciprocated. I was torn. We go to a point where now it's the day to turn myself in. I met my I'm at my cousin Mike's house. My mom comes. Everybody's kind of like, you know, they're feeling her vibe. It's really nothing for her. But I feel. I'm like, I'm about to get locked up for defending you. And it's like, oh, it's all right. You'll be all right. Cool. My Uncle Pierre arranges me to turn myself in. I turn myself in. I go through the process. I'm given a court date. At that time, I can't go back home. It's the holidays. So you're talking about Christmas, lights, all of that. I'm in the streets.
This can be a worse time.
Tough. Still not really getting the communication I want from my mom. Like, what's going on? What's the plan of action? I'm out. I'm in the streets.
What was you looking for, Ace, from mom at that point?
Some support. I was looking for anything at this point. And in my family, everybody's kind of like trying to provide me with support, but it's such a sensitive topic because they knew, like my grandmother knew, my other grandmother knew, like everybody kind of knew of my mom's and her past traumas, but I was kind of in the dark. So I'm sitting here trying to figure this whole situation out. The day of the arraignment comes. I'm in court. Looking around. Judge didn't call my name yet. Where my mom at? Somebody runs into the courtroom frantically. It's my mom. My mom is a nurse. My mom had a uniform on that day, which means my mom was at work. You went to work today? You on your lunch break? I may go to prison for this. I may get locked up for this. And you went to work? Still trying to process the situation. Did I do something wrong? My mom had another home. She had a home in the Poconos. So there were options. The coward was asked to go to the other home. He declined. I'm still out in the street, fellas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas going out to the New Year's. Y'all know how restraining orders work. Mm-hmm. I can't go home.
Because he did.
I can't go home. My village tries everything to comfort me, you know. Cousin Mike, he's there to support me, cracking jokes, talking. I still can't figure it out, guys. What did I do wrong? I come back home. They have an argument. I hear it. The question was posed, him or me. Now, this is not a Jody and Yvette situation where it's like, yeah, that boy. No. It's him or me. Mm-hmm. I don't need to hear the answer because your actions already displayed that. Now, let's be clear. I'm not here to villainize my mom. I'm just telling my truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I leave. My relationship with my mom was fractured for several years over this. And we'll discuss it more as the show goes on. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be too long-winded in this, but I just wanted to give you a backstory of where that major fracture with my mom was made. And I sat there for years, going to therapy, struggling. And you know, sometimes brothers from the hood, when they feel broken, they numb the pain, drinking, heavy, drinking, a lot of drinking. And the question I always ask myself, what did I do wrong?
So that was heavy, dog.
Super
duper heavy.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that share the same sentiments as you do. Not maybe the same exact issue, but definitely that mom seemingly or did choose a man over their son.
Big facts.
You understand what I mean?
I know people whose relationships with their mom has been more like a partnership, and then mom goes off and finds somebody else. Now it's like that partnership is fractured because now I'm at odds with this guy. You know what I'm saying?
You're fighting for status.
You're fighting for the status over a woman, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And even though the woman is your mom,
right?
It's like, no, I'm the man in her life. And it's like, nah, young fella, I'm the man in her life.
Right.
Listen, when you are a young kid, like my father bounced, I think I was like 5 years old, right? So I'm going to say from 5 until, right? I was the man of my house, right? Like let's start talking about like some of those traumas when your dad leaves your mom, who you automatically become, Who you automatically become. You automatically become the protector. You automatically, whatever you can provide, whether it's you cleaning the house up, that's your form of being able to provide, right?
Absolutely.
Right? And what do? You profess, right? When you see your mom sitting there crying and her world's looking like it's broken up, you profess your love, like, Mom, I love you, right? When you get some good grades, you bring it back home to your mom. It's, hey, Mom, look, I got these good grades for you. I love you. That's your form of providing, right? These are some of the things that we are trained, right, throughout life that we don't necessarily even know or even understand, right? So
or even this is from a male's perspective. It's innate.
It's innate. It just automatically happens.
Some of them things is just
it just automatically happens.
Yeah, it's like that.
And it's like we don't. Humans are the only species on this planet that a parent or parents have to carry them through until they're 18 years old.
It's true.
The only species on this planet. Most is birds. They actually kick you out of the nest, fly, or you don't, right? So us as and again, this is where I place an emphasis on black men, right? Because I can only speak for black men in this particular situation, right? Growing up in an urban city, growing up in the environments that we grow up in, right? We automatically feel like we have to protect, right? Because when you look outside your window, you're very clear what's going on out there. It's either, at night you're hearing, the sweet sounds of an urban community, right? Let's call it what it is. The sweet sounds of an urban community. You get to hear those, right? And when you actually walk through the streets, you actually get to live in the movie of what an urban community is, right? So automatically you just become who you become. Like, nobody told you to be this person. You just automatically become this person. You're walking down the street with your mom. You grab her hand and you let her walk in front of you, and you walk behind.
For sure.
Like, you just automatically do that.
Because you are your environment.
You are your environment.
For sure.
Like you are.
So for me, it was a little bit different. So I highlighted how excited I was for my mom to be at that game, right? But you talking about I was 17, 18 maybe at the time. But so now we got to rewind the story back a little bit, because the same thing you talk about where you called your mom, I had to do that. But prior to that, my dad passed away, right? I always highlight my relationship with my father. So now me spending all of this time at my father's house, I'm gonna tell y'all again, it's a story. We were living in the south side of West Philadelphia, and I went to a school down Southwest Philly. My grandmother lived directly around the corner from my father, and this particular day I leave school. I don't know what my dad and mom went through, but she calls my grandmother's house from work. She worked for a company called Health Partners, which was the insurance company. She called my grandmother and she tells my grandmother,
Still got that.
They still got that? I don't got that, so I don't know. She calls my grandmother and she tells my grandmother not to let me go to my father's house. Now, this is May 8th, 97. You know what I'm saying? And that particular day, it's probably like 6 o'clock. And my mom calls my grandma. I'm like, all right, they can come home, catch the bus home, whatever, right? So we're standing on the bus stop, my brother and I, my youngest brother and I, and I see my one of my dad's daughters. She was crying and falling out, and my brother was holding her up. So me, that's my brother and sister. And even though, put it in context. My dad was 56 when he had me, and I'm 13 at the time. So he's 69 right there.
He about 100 years old. He about 101.
So anything over 50 is 100.
So that particular moment, like all of my siblings, his youngest sibling is 20-something years older than me. So I go ask like, yo, what's up? Like, they like, my dad had an enclosed porch, and on his enclosed porch, he had a table, a little bench, to these 2 little chairs on the back side of the on the porch, and they told me like my dad passed away. Now, put it in context. My grandmother's house is, you turn my dad's corner, her apartment building is right there. Literally 100 steps, I'm at my dad's house. So I cross the street, and I'm like, nah. So I go around there, and I see my dad. So from that moment, I resented my mom because I felt like she was the reason that my dad passed away.
Wow.
I was keeping him alive. And you got to think I'm 13 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah. So that resentment. And then, of course, she come up there and it's like trying to reconnect, and even through the funeral and all of that stuff, it's like, nah, I'm good. So right after the funeral, that's when I got into my shenanigans. I'm in the house. He gave me a dog named Brutus. That was the last thing he gave me. I love Brutus. He was a pit bull mixed with a German Shepherd. Yeah, he was the toughest dog in the neighborhood, man.
The sweet sounds of the urban environment.
toughest dog in the neighborhood. But and I remember everybody was compassionate, and I didn't care because I hated everybody. So me and Brutus, we walked in, we got into some shenanigans, and from that moment on, I learned how to be a menace.
So you actually just raised a great point, right? The resentment that you felt for your mom on the strength of your dad. Right. Is there anybody else here? Because I know I suffered from it, right? I resented my dad because of my mom for years.
Right.
Need to speak on that. Let's hear that. Not me, but I'm curious to know.
Yeah, me as well. Like when you say you resented you felt like your dad leaving contributed to your mom's like course of like
everything. Like for example, I resented my dad on the strength of my mom. What my mom was consistent, like the energy that she consistently fed us, right? Like I can't ever say to you guys that my mom said, your dad is a blah 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 blah. She never said those words, right? Those words never never came out of her mouth. And if it did, maybe once or twice it did, right? Because the word never is like so far. But I've had the experience, right, where I grew up resenting my dad on the strength of an energy that I felt from my mom, right? Not even knowing or really understanding as a child that there's 3 stories. It's her story, his story, and the truth.
Absolutely.
And the truth, right?
Yeah.
So it's, again, I feel like, throughout that time, I really, really resented my dad, again, because we were talking about being young, being children, right? Being in an urban environment and things that we just automatically, innately just do, which is to protect, right? So my mom said, I'm getting this energy, and not energy, because I actually experienced some things at the hands of my father that my mom experienced as well. So that right there set the foundation for the resentment, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know why this man did it. I have no idea why he did what he did. But
and you don't ask any questions.
And you don't really ask the question. You just automatically protect the person that you feel is the weakest.
Of course.
Because I honestly believe if it was the other way around, and my father and my mother was violating my father, then I would automatically come and jump to his rescue and be like, whoa, what is happening? Right? But, and listen, we urban environment, Caribbean culture. It gets real spooky.
It does.
It gets real spooky. So again, going back to, my resentment from my dad on the strength of my mom, right? Being able to want to love and protect her, right? Again, when you are able to sit down and you are able to ask the right questions and have open and honest dialogue about what's happening, right? I had to sit down with my mom and told her that I am dying, right? I'm dying inside. I don't know what is happening to me right now. Like, I am married. I have a woman and I don't know what's wrong with me. And I think you guys are the reason why things are not the way that I would want them to be. I am carrying baggage. I'm carrying damage.
Karma.
From you guys.
Karmic debt.
Yeah.
Yo, bro, what you're speaking is so spot on. We had a conversation, myself, Yogi, and C yesterday. And like I said, as I began to get older and really take a step back and really try to analyze, the situation that transpired with my mother, I asked all the W's: who, what, when, why, what. Now they have that website. I'm not going to say the website where you can go and you can chase back your lineage. In the Caribbean culture, we go ask the old heads. You know what I mean? We ask the aunts and you go back. You ask the ancestors. So that was a mission of mine. I went and asked my ancestors and sat there and said, "Listen, I need you to tell me how my mom's life was before she was a mother
So
as a child."
let me ask you a question. What drove you to even be like, you know what, I need to get down to the bottom?
For me, critical thinking, right? And I say that's why it's important for people to practice that all the time, because when you're looking at a situation from face value, like, I'm looking at this wall right here, but there's got to be something behind it. There has to be a way I can get around it and see what's behind it and see what's supporting it. What's keeping this wall up right now? So, and that helped with going to therapy, digging deeper. So now I go back and ask the ancestors, ask the old heads, like, yo, what was my mother's upbringing, her childhood? And I got some vital information. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was, I wouldn't say abusive to her, but she used to be on her a lot. Like, you know, probably emotionally, some physically, because, you know, we're Haitian, it was rough, but she was on my mom a lot. So my mom had a lot of trauma from my grandmother. And even digging a little bit deeper, a recent conversation that I had with my cousin Fifi, shouts out to my cousin Fifi.
Everybody has a nickname.
Well, yeah, we all got
Everybody.
Come on, Minky, you already know the
Everybody
vibe.
got a nickname.
I didn't choose that nickname.
Neither did Bunny.
No, they didn't.
There you go. That's everybody got to have a nickname. Fifi.
Brutus.
Brutus was his name. That was
No.
he had no
It too.
nickname.
So having a conversation with my cousin Fifi, who you know, her mother was my mother's sister, of course. She also expressed the trauma that her mom had. Like, she would wake up nights, you know, screaming her mom's name.
Who was older, Fifi or your mom?
Who's older?
Yeah.
No, Fifi is my cousin.
Oh,
My
your cousin, okay.
younger cousin.
Okay,
So
but she's talking about her
her mom,
Okay,
right, which is my aunt.
Which is who's older between your aunt and your mom?
Well, Fifi's mom is my older. She's older than my mom.
Okay, I got
so
you.
she's the eldest.
I got you.
I believe she's the eldest out of all the siblings. So she even spoke of times that, you know, her mom had, you know, traumatic dreams about her mom and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that kind of really put all the pieces together. So then, as I began to go around and ask questions and see what the relationship was like with my mom and her parents, my mom adored her dad, my grandfather. Like, I met my grandfather, I met him when I went to Haiti when I was younger, but as an adult, when he came to the States, my mom worshiped the ground he walked on. You know what I mean? But the traumas that my mom carried from her relationship with my grandmother, it passes on.
Yeah, it passes on.
It passed on. So as we spoke, they had the conversation yesterday, like, yo, we're carrying the burden of all these past traumas. It's like the weight is heavy. Like, you see me here, I'm just, y'all talking, and I'm just, emotions, is like tears are falling from my eyes. It's just the weight.
Yeah.
It's the weight that I'm carrying of just generations. We're talking about,
We don't know how far this goes.
yo, we don't know how far this trauma goes back. But I'm so determined to be like, nah, the buck stops here. But the weight is heavy. It's heavy. Like, it's to the point where I went to my nieces. I'm a granduncle. I didn't even know those existed. I'm a granduncle.
A great uncle.
Great uncle.
I'm a granduncle, and I go to my niece's daughter's first
Great granduncle.
You're like, yo, that's my great granduncle. Like, well, all right. I go to my niece's daughter's birthday party, and her dad's side of the family so supportive. Like, her aunt practically raised her. My older sister carries a lot of trauma from my mom as well, and some of that trauma she passed on to my niece.
Ooh.
Slightly. Well, I can't
It
say
can still
slightly.
be. It can still be.
It's still there. So I'm at my grandniece's.
Your great niece.
Your
great.
No, it ain't great. That's if she got a kid.
No, that's only like when it's immediate. So when it's like your
It's my niece's daughter. So that's
right.
a,
So it's a great
great-
niece.
damn. I'm a great.
You're a great uncle.
Yeah, it's not a such
Damn.
grand.
You're almost a great granduncle.
Sheesh. That's wild right there. All right, I'm gonna have to change my name again to Great Papa. But I'm at the event, and it's a beautiful event. People are there, and I'm looking at the beautiful family, and her dad's family. Her dad's family's all there. Do you know I'm the only single representative from her mom's side of the family there?
Wow.
Me and the Wiz. We the only people there that's there as support. And I'm sitting there and I'm taking it all in. And I just had to put my head down and just get a moment and do some naughty show real quick to get my breathing together so I would not get emotional. And I felt all different types of emotions, like embarrassment, sadness, like heartbreak, like the trauma that's been passed on from however far it is still affecting us to this day.
Absolutely.
You know, and to my sister Sandy, I love you, sis. I know we haven't spoken in quite some time, and I just want you to understand that we can break this. We can break this curse, you know, and we just have to do the work. We just have to do the work.
So with that, I know Snow you're about to go on, but I just wanted to say to the fans, to the people out there, to our community out there, to our family out there, to our friends out there, we know that this stuff is heavy. We get it. We know that it's like almost tormenting you. And even though you can't feel the weight physically, you can feel it mentally, spiritually, and energetically. We know that it's heavy. We get it. But you have to speak up. You cannot heal what you do not reveal.
Absolutely.
It's a fact.
Real
And
shit.
you may not be carrying just your karmic duties, that you may be carrying your fathers, your mothers, your grandmas, your grandfathers. But guess what? Just like Kendrick said in his album, it can stop right here. Just like Ace said, it can stop right here. And you don't, and your kin or your family going forward, your kids, your children, your grandchildren do not have to keep this karmic debt on their shoulders. So we can work through it. We're here to help, right? We're here to help. And then you have family and friends that you trust that's here to help as well. You just have to reveal your trauma so you can heal it.
Dad, you so corny. Dad, say it again.